Good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. This video is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own research, make your own decisions. All right, guys, very important video. This is a follow-up for my question the other day. I tagged DFINITY and Manu in that, just talking about a potential integration with Solana and would there be a need for a CK twin with Solana because it's faster and cheaper than Bitcoin and Ethereum. So would there still be a need in that situation? And he got back with me. So I want to kind of dive into this and do a follow-up from some of my earlier videos. And yeah, lot to go over. There are a few very important takeaways. Okay, some of this will be review, some of it will be new. And as I better understand this or get more information as this progresses, I'll do general update videos then also. Okay, so I just put a question out and just said, in the future, with Solana, if there is going to be an integration with Solana, and it seems like there is, and that might already be there. They might already be working on that now. I just said, because it's faster and cheaper, would there still be a need for a CK twin and why? And so he responded, yeah, you could argue that the need would be lower or the need is lower. On the other hand, it would still be convenient due to the IRC1 token standard and cheaper and lower latency. And the fact that SOL is cheaper and faster than Bitcoin and Ethereum would make it less of a hurdle converting back and forth between ckSOL and SOL. All right, when that's true. And so this makes sense. And I don't know why I never thought about the token standard. And if somebody would have just suggested that months ago, I would have thought about it for probably 3 or 4 minutes. And I would have said, okay, that makes sense. But for whatever reason, I was only looking at speed and cost as the problem that needed to be solved for. And I wasn't thinking about all the other complexities of trying to use the native asset within applications at scale and how many problems that would create across the ecosystem. So it does make sense. And from my understanding, there will likely be CK twins for pretty much every other asset, okay? Which I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think that this is years ahead of what else is happening in the space right now. Whether the answer was yes or no did not matter to me at all because it's still by far the best solution in the space, in my opinion. Okay. I don't even really feel like that's an opinion. I mean, if you can directly integrate, your canisters can hold addresses for these different networks and you can sign transactions on those networks without third-party middleware. I don't know how I just think that's the best solution in the space. We'll see if it continues to work 100% correctly over time, especially at scale. I'm not putting out of the realm possibility that there's never going to be an issue with any of the CK twins or some type of congestion or problems that happen. But just because people in the crypto mainstream are not coming out and sounding the alarms about how big of a technical advancement this is, that doesn't mean that it's not, okay? And honestly, if this was the technical advancement that I think that it is, and what I'm talking about more so is just their ability to integrate natively and sign transactions on other networks, not just with Bitcoin, not just with Ethereum, but numerous other networks. And we're going to get into that as the video goes on, because I was under the impression, based on an old Victor Shoup video, I've mentioned this before, that this was only going to be possible with networks that use ECDSA signature schemes. And that does not appear to be the case. It does seem like they can also do this with networks that use EDDSA signature schemes. And if that is true, and if they can build out comparable integrations with these other networks that use EDDSA signature schemes, that pretty much covers most of the main networks in space. So speaking hypothetically, the way that I understand this, in the future, when you log into your NNS account, you're going to have a CK-BTC address, CK Ethereum, ckSOL, CK AVAX, CK Cardano, so on and so forth. But there will be, it is possible to use, once a full integration is built out, the way that it is with Bitcoin, once this is fully complete, it is possible in the application, to the best of my understanding, and I could be wrong and let me know if I am, that to just use the native asset within whatever application it is. But it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't even make sense when you get to the faster and the cheaper ones because of all the problems that would create across the entire ecosystem. I don't say problems. It's just it would be significantly more efficient to just use the CK Twins. It would make life a lot easier, probably on a lot of app developers across the entire ICP blockchain. So, okay, all right. Also, this guy, I guess it's Isaac. He was the first one to throw out the token standard suggestion or explanation. So greatly appreciate it. I wish you would have been around in my comment section months ago because I could have got this cleared up, but really appreciate it. I also think he does like a newsletter or some type of like podcast or something like that. If you want to check it out, blockchain engineer, everybody's an engineer except for me. So yeah, thank you for getting back with me on this. Okay. All right. So I think that's how it's going to be set up in the future, is you're going to have all these different assets available to you when you log into the internets. All right. And yes, with a ckSOL, right, hypothetically, assuming this happens, it would be much easier just to go back and forth with ckSOL and SOL differently than, let's say, Bitcoin, because if you have CK Bitcoin and you're going to withdraw that Bitcoin to a Trezor, right, having nothing to do with ICP, you're going to have to do that on the Bitcoin network, and you're going to have to wait for that to play out, however long it takes for that transaction to go through, and you're going to have to pay the fees associated with the Bitcoin network. But it is possible to use the native asset, and that's why CK Twins are not like all of these other wrap tokens, because this is a direct integration. This is a third-party bridge patchwork type system. So let's just say, speaking hypothetically, that you could actually, and I do believe you can. I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but let's just play this all the way through. You're on a ICP DEX. Just say you're on IC Lighthouse. And let's just say that at this point in time in the future, ICP's already built out the integrations with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, Avalanche, and a few others. So you're on this DEX, and you have the ability to swap natively for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, for Solana, for whatever, along with the other ICP assets as well. Well, if you swap for Bitcoin, you're going to have to wait a day for that transaction to go through. If you swap for Ethereum, you're going to have to wait a while for the transaction to go through, but you're also going to have to pay the fees associated with it. So on one app, you could have 5 to 10 assets from other networks that have different transaction speeds, different settlement times, and different costs associated, as opposed to just having one standard across the entire ecosystem. And on top of that, too, if you just kind of left it open, maybe some app developers choose to enable the native asset within their application, maybe some don't. There's not a lot of standardization across the entire ecosystem. It makes sense now why you would need a CK Twin. And I imagine there's other technical reasons why it would make sense also. But just know that it is technically possible to use the native asset. And that's why the CK Twins are different from everything else. And I mean, this is, in my opinion, years ahead of what else is going on in the space right now. And until another layer one, their native smart contracts can execute transactions on other networks, and they can actually hold those addresses, I think ICP is just going to run away with it. And considering that the canisters themselves do hold the native asset, like let's just say for like a Bitcoin, the canisters hold that Bitcoin. Given that ICP has governance at the network and at the application level, it just further sweetens the deal, in my opinion. I do believe DFINITY's voting power is going to go down over time, but that puts a governance system in place which would likely ease concerns when people are looking at solutions for this, especially when you look at the alternative, even if it's a decentralized bridge type model. There's so many scaling issues with these type of third-party bridge systems. Okay. So I think that's how it's going to be set up. And if you're, and we've talked about this months, a long time ago, actually, but if you're if you're a country and you're going to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender, and or Lugano is not a country, it's, in Switzerland, but, or El Salvador, whatever it may be, and you're looking at solutions in order to make that happen, it's not out of the realm possibility that Bitcoin is going to continue to be adopted as legal tender. I mean, you know, obviously, I think that my opinion on what should or shouldn't happen is completely irrelevant. I'm just watching what is happening and preparing accordingly. But with other countries potentially adopting Bitcoin as legal tender, they're going to have to also, as a part of their, we're going to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender, we need to have at least one or two go-to options for making this a scalable payment solution. And institutions 100% look at design, architecture, counterparty risk, all of those things are taken into consideration when institutions are looking at using new software. And so the fact that technically the native asset could be used here is just not the most efficient route. I think this is going to make ICP the solution for all of this over a long enough time frame. Right? So it's like until all of these integrations get built out, until all the rest of the functionality and everything else gets built out with ICP and the rest of the infrastructure, it's just going to take time. Okay. So I do think there'll be other, shitty solutions that last for much longer than they should. But until something gets close to being able to have this functionality, I think the gap's just going to widen. So there's two, and I might have already mentioned this in this video, but I mentioned this before. There's two, especially if you're new, two very, very, very big things that put ICP in its own category entirely. But you're not going to hear this in the mainstream. And you just have to critically look at this for yourself and say, is this a big deal? Why do I think it's a big deal? Right? And if this, you're just not going to hear people in the crypto mainstream coming out and talking about the most significant technical advancements that are happening. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to do it while the opportunity is as big as it's ever going to be. They'll do it later on after the opportunity has come and gone. Okay? So the two big things is that they can execute transactions on other networks. And from the looks of it, if they can also do these integrations with networks that use EDDSA and ECDSA, they can cover most of the main networks. It's not out of the realm possibility that they're going to be operating on 10 to 15 over a long enough time frame, that they're going to be operating on 10 to 15 different networks simultaneously. They're canister smart contracts. All these other networks, they're operating on their own network, and that's it. And if they do want to have connectivity or some type of integration with other networks, they have to use third-party bridges. This is so far technically advanced. Just the Bitcoin integration in a vacuum. So far technically advanced from these other solutions. But when you add on top of that a comparable integration with Ethereum and all these other networks, and it's all running at web speed simultaneously, so the big takeaways for me is that it is possible to use the native asset, okay? It just doesn't make sense, okay? And correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it is. And if you even read Manu's response, what does he say? What does he say? No, that's not possible at all. All he says, you could argue the need is lower, right? But it would be more, or it would still be convenient due to the IRC1 token standard, which makes sense now. For some reason, I never thought about that before. But if they can cover the networks that use ECDSA and EDDSA, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of waiting until all these integrations get built out. So that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to kind of go over this. If we're looking for questions that would be good to find the answers for, it's just, and I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, but can ICP, can the people at DFINITY build out comparable integrations with the networks that use EDDSA? And is the functionality one-to-one comparable with what they're doing with Bitcoin and Ethereum at the end, after a full integration is complete? And I mean, if the answer is yes, then I mean, they have the ability to integrate with 10, 15, 20 different popular networks. So that's all I have for this video. I just wanted to do a follow-up. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know if I got anything wrong. And yeah, I had no idea, no clue how many people that, I knew there was a decent amount, but I had no idea how many people watch the channel that can code. And I still probably don't know, just for the people that I've personally connected with. Blows my, it makes me feel like I shouldn't be up here, to be honest with you. And it's a tragedy that I've actually been the one that's been talking for such a long period of time, given how many of y'all actually have deep technical backgrounds. But let me know if you have any questions or if I got anything wrong or if you want to add anything or whatever, okay? That's all I have for this video. This was not financial advice. Take care. I will do at least one more video. I do have a lot of things I want to cover. I've just gotten backlogged. I'm trying to learn about Farcaster frames. So yeah, I'm just backlogged on a bunch of different things that I have to research. So that's all I have for this video. I will get one more video out this weekend. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Take care. Have a good day. I'll see you in the next video.